Usually when we look at the autopsy of a failed business, there's a very obvious smoking gun.
Right, like the numbers just don't add up.
Exactly. The margins shrink and it all just falls apart.
Yeah, or the product quality tanks.
Right. Or management gets caught embezzling, or, I don't know, they just completely run out of cash, cause a new competitor built a better mousetrap.
It's usually a pretty clean cause and effect. You make a bad product, you go out of business.
Exactly. It's a binary equation where you can point to the exact moment the math stopped working, but then you step into the world of multi-generational family businesses.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
It really is,
Yeah.
specifically in the hospitality industry. And suddenly that smoking gun is just missing. So today, for this deep dive, we are looking at a business collapse from our sources that is honestly just baffling on paper.
It really is wild when you look at the details.
Right. It's a deeply personal first-hand account of a 4-generation family empire in the Godavari districts, specifically the city of Rajahmundry.
Yeah, and this empire, it completely collapsed.
Completely. And the crazy part, the food was flawless until the very last day.
Yeah, it is a textbook case of an empire falling while the crown jewels were still sparkling, basically.
Yeah.
Because they didn't die from financial ruin initially, and they certainly didn't die from a drop in quality. They died from a failure to evolve.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're looking at the incredible rise and the eventual fall of 2 highly traditional eateries. They were called Ananda Vihar and Ananda Bhavan.
Right.
And the reason this is so fascinating is that this isn't just a local story about food. If you look at the actual mechanics of what happened here, it's a brilliant microeconomic case study.
Yes, on the innovator's dilemma.
Exactly. But playing out on a deeply traditional scale,
Yeah, and just for those who maybe haven't read Clayton Christensen, the innovator's dilemma is that, well, it's that terrifying scenario where doing absolutely everything right is what kills you.
Right, like listening to your best customers.
Exactly. Maximizing your margins, perfecting your product. It's exactly the thing that kills you when the market quietly changes around you.
Because you're so optimized for the present, you have no defense against the future.
Spot on.
So to understand how they fell, I think we have to look at the absolute heights they reached during their golden era.
Definitely.
The father in this narrative, he was an absolute industry titan. He had decades of experience running Ananda Bhavan, which was a traditional Brahmin dining hall.
Right. Known locally as a Brahmana Bhojana Sala.
Right. And it was so successful that he expanded. He opened a massive second location, Ananda Vihar, right at the Saimalataki Center.
What's fascinating here is we really need to define what kind of operation this was, because they had literally zero competition in their specific niche.
None at all.
Right. This wasn't just a kitchen where someone was, throwing ingredients into a pot.
No, it was like a highly calibrated culinary science.
Exactly. The entire menu was rooted in Ayurvedic principles and these centuries-old Arya Visya and Brahmin traditions.
Yeah, they strictly followed dietary restrictions, which is a concept known as pathium.
Right. And they operated on 3 core pillars: unwavering health, unparalleled taste, which they called ruchi.
Ruchi, yeah.
And absolute cleanliness, known as suchi.
Ruchi and Suchi.
Ruchi and suchi. That was the brand.
And it was a promise they delivered flawlessly, day in and day out, over 4 generations.
Yeah, and you have to realize their success wasn't just about the food. It was deeply tied to the macroeconomics of the region at that specific time.
Oh, for sure. Rajahmundry was just exploding as a commercial hub.
Yeah, the road-cum-rail bridge had just been constructed.
Which is a huge deal.
Massive. Because that infrastructure change essentially funneled thousands of people from the surrounding villages into the city every single day.
Right. People were coming in for major shopping trips or medical care at the hospitals, banking, you name it.
And our source describes how the surrounding smaller town businesses basically dried up and everything centralized right there in Rajahmundry.
And the father, being a really sharp businessman for his era, he anticipated this.
He saw it coming.
He totally did. That's exactly why he leased that prime real estate at the Saimalataki Center.
Yeah, he was a kingmaker in his family. He brought relatives into the city to open lodges and complementary businesses right in that same center.
Just to capture all this new foot traffic.
Exactly. He was building a localized economic ecosystem.
He saw the infrastructure change and just positioned himself directly at the bottleneck of all that human traffic.
It was brilliant.
It really was. But I want to give you, the listener, an idea of what this actually looked like. Imagine you're one of those people coming into town in 1980.
Right, you've got a massive checklist of errands.
Right. So to understand what eating at Ananda Vihar was actually like, think of it less like going out to a modern restaurant and more like pulling into an F1 pit stop.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, because the physical environment wasn't designed for lingering or comfort. It was designed for sheer throughput.
You sit down, you get your food, you leave.
Exactly. You get this highly calibrated, pure Ayurvedic fuel, ruchi, and suchi that you know is clean and won't make you sick, and you are back on the road in like 15 minutes. Fast, cheap, and pristine.
It was the ultimate transactional experience. The father just perfected utility. If you needed sustenance to keep shopping, he offered the most reliable solution in the entire district.
But, and this is the kicker, that perfect utility is exactly what created his blind spots.
Yep.
The model was so flawlessly optimized for a transactional economy that he couldn't even perceive the quiet shift toward an experiential economy.
You couldn't see it at all.
No. And you really start to see that shift through the eyes of the next generation, the narrator of our source material, the son.
Right, so the son is positioned as the classic heir apparent.
Yeah.
While he's in college getting his degree, he is already working daily, grueling shifts as a cashier and assistant manager at the hotel. He knows the business inside and out.
But his heart just isn't in it.
Not at all.
His true passion is yoga. He's actively searching for a guru so he can dedicate his life to the practice. And he feels like the all-consuming 14-hour days of the hotel business are just suffocating him.
And the father sees this reluctance, so trying to be accommodating, but let's be real, likely also trying to subtly channel the son's obvious intelligence into something practical for the family empire, he sends the son down to Chennai for technical studies.
Why? This is right around 1982.
Exactly. So the father sends him away to learn technical skills to bring back to the restaurant, but it completely backfires.
Oh, totally backfires. The son spends 2 years in Chennai taking various technical courses, and he is brilliant.
Yeah, he's so good at implementation that his teachers essentially try to recruit him out of the family business.
They offer him 2 incredible pathways, a route to Canada to get in on the ground floor of the booming computer industry, or a route to the Gulf to work in commercial air conditioning.
And you have to keep in mind, 1982 is the absolute dawn of the personal computing era.
These are golden tickets.
Yeah, most young men in his position would have given anything for those kinds of global opportunities.
But he turns them down.
Just walks away.
He walks away from the 1980s computer boom. And the reasons he gives in his account are just fascinating because they reveal so much about the psychology of this family.
Right. First, he admits he just didn't have the personal funds to relocate abroad.
Which is fair.
Yeah. And second, with total humility, he admits he completely failed to predict how big computers were going to be.
It's a great moment of self-reflection from him.
Yeah.
He just didn't see the wave coming.
But his third reason is really the most important one.
Yeah, he came from a family of incredibly proud freedom fighters.
Right.
In his family's worldview, going abroad, leaving the country they had literally fought to make independent periods, was seen as a betrayal of their values.
Family loyalty and tradition just exerted this immense gravity on him.
So he rejects Canada, he rejects the Gulf, he goes back to Rajahmundry.
And notice the dynamic there. The same fierce loyalty to tradition and ideology that kept the son from chasing the computer boom in Canada is the exact same psychological trait that keeps the father from changing his restaurant model later on.
Wow, yeah.
The whole family places their established identity way above pure financial opportunism.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the son comes back, but he still refuses to run the hotel.
Right.
So the father gives his blessing, and the son pivots. He travels to Visakhapatnam to get business training, finally meets his yoga guru there, and eventually opens a bookstore back in Rajahmundry instead of managing the floor of Ananda Vihar.
But those years away, living in Chennai, training in Visakhapatnam, were a massive catalyst.
Oh, huge.
The son had finally seen the world outside the Godavari districts. He was exposed to modern, urban restaurant ambiances.
Right, he saw people dining out for pleasure,
Yeah.
sitting in comfortable chairs enjoying the atmosphere.
And suddenly he looks back at his family's bare-bones, high-efficiency F1 pit stop, and he sees a dinosaur.
It's so ironic. The son missed the global computer boom, but he perfectly predicted the local restaurant boom.
It's the classic generational divide in family businesses. The founder is locked into the original model.
Cost to the father. The lines are still out the door. The food is still perfect. Why on earth would he change a single thing?
Exactly. But the next generation, exposed to macro trends outside the immediate bubble, they can see the iceberg coming.
The son recognized that the very definition of a good restaurant was fundamentally changing in the minds of the consumer.
Right. But that realization the son had in the city, that our restaurant is about the experience, not just the food, is exactly what his father was completely blind to back home.
And this is where the fatal flaw of the entire enterprise kicks in. It started with small, seemingly stubborn refusals. The father just flat out rejected any modern management upgrades.
Yeah, the son wanted to bring in a computer for basic accounting and inventory.
The father said no.
The idea of installing air conditioning, out of the question.
But the culture of dining out was fundamentally shifting around them. The source notes an incredible demographic detail.
Yeah, this part was wild.
Previously, people only went to restaurants with their families if they were already out shopping, specifically with the women of the household, and needed a quick utilitarian bite to keep going.
Right, dining was just a byproduct of shopping.
But now, a rising middle class meant people wanted to go out specifically to eat.
The meal itself became the primary event.
Yes, they wanted to sit down for a long time. They wanted to enjoy the ambiance, talk, and relax.
And crucially, they were perfectly willing to ignore higher prices if they got that premium experience.
But Ananda Vihar was still operating on the F1 pit stop model. Eat fast, don't look at your surroundings, and free up the table for the next person.
And, nature abhors a vacuum.
Yes.
Because Ananda Vihar wasn't offering comfort, new competitors flooded in to capture that demand.
Right.
People from the neighboring Krishna district started moving into Rajahmundry, and they brought fully air-conditioned, modern restaurants with them.
And the father just ignored them.
Yeah.
He didn't even view these new places as legitimate competition.
But let me ask you this. Is it fair to call him just a stubborn old man?
How do you mean?
Well, to him, this wasn't a bad business strategy, right?
Yeah,
It was a defense of his core values.
that's a good point.
The source explicitly mentions that these new competitors from the Krishna district mixed vegetarian and non-vegetarian food in the exact same building.
Right.
In Rajahmundry at that time, that was a massive cultural taboo. Non-veg places were strictly segregated and colloquially referred to as military hotels.
Yeah, it was a very rigid line.
So the father wasn't just looking at a different business model. To him, mixing veg and military hotel food under one roof was a violation of the purity, the suchi, that his family had spent 4 generations building. He was protecting a brand.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the tragedy, the innovator's dilemma when it intersects with deep cultural tradition.
Yeah.
He was operating on a set of moral principles, assuming the market shared those exact same principles. Right. He genuinely believed his customers would always prioritize the rigorous Ayurvedic tradition of his food over everything else.
He thought quality and purity were an invincible moat.
But markets are ruthless.
They really are. And they quietly vote with their wallets. The demographic was shifting. The customers still respected his food, but they were now willing to overlook those old cultural taboos regarding segregated kitchens in exchange for modern comfort.
They wanted air conditioning.
They wanted an inclusive menu where different family members could order different things.
They were trading rigid tradition for a comfortable experience, and the father simply couldn't process that transaction.
So the empire begins to unravel, and the mechanics of this collapse are devastating because it is purely structural.
Yeah, because the food never slips, but the foundation cracks.
Right. Instead of adapting the ambiance, or maybe letting the son use his new business acumen to open a modern experimental branch, the father doubles down on the old failing model.
It's so sad. He takes on massive debt to actually purchase the prime real estate they had been leasing.
It's a classic panicked defensive move. When the market threatens your relevance, you try to solidify your physical assets to feel secure.
But he did it with borrowed money at the exact moment his revenue model was becoming obsolete.
And the financial burden creates a death spiral.
Yeah, the source lists the cascading pressures. The father is aging. There are massive wedding expenses for the growing children. There are vague but emotionally draining legal issues surrounding the properties.
And crucially, the oldest son, our narrator, is entirely focused on his bookstore and his yoga practice.
He has withdrawn his labor.
And the younger brothers, they lack the competence to run complex, high-volume hotel operations, so they opt to follow the older brother and start their own bookstores too.
So look at the situation. You have a father carrying a massive debt load, dealing with shiny new competitors who are stealing his high-paying experiential customers, and he has suddenly lost his most vital resource.
The free, highly competent labor force of his own sons.
Exactly. And he couldn't carry the weight alone. He tried leasing out the daily operations of the hotel to someone else, but that just caused quality control issues and friction.
Yeah, it never works out well when you lose control of the floor like that.
Eventually, overwhelmed by the debt and the sheer physical exhaustion, he had to sell the hard-earned property. The empire collapsed.
But the source text makes one point incredibly clear, and this is a vital lesson. Until the very last minute, the food quality never dropped.
Not once. Ruchi and Suchi were maintained to the bitter end.
Which is wild because businesses almost always die because the product gets worse.
Right. The head chef leaves, management starts using cheaper vegetable oil, the dining room gets dirty.
Yeah.
Here, the core product remained absolutely perfect. But the packaging, the environment, and the broader strategy fundamentally failed to meet the moment.
The narrator actually has a moment of levity about this in the text. He mentions that people in town still ask him today why such an incredible, beloved hotel closed down. Oh yeah, and he playfully laughs and tells them it was the sacrifice made for his yoga practice.
He blames his own absence.
It's a sweet, self-deprecating joke. But let's look at the mechanics. Was it really just the son leaving to do yoga that killed a 4-generation empire?
No, absolutely not. And I think we have to reframe that entire narrative. The failure wasn't the son's absence. The failure was the father's inability to build a resilient system.
Yeah.
He built a machine that relied entirely on his own intense 14-hour-a-day micromanagement and the essentially free labor of a highly competent eldest son.
Which isn't sustainable.
Exactly. When you have a business model that only functions if the founder is standing at the cash register every single day, you haven't built a business.
Yeah.
You just built a very demanding, fragile job.
Wow. The business wasn't designed to survive him or the changing times. It was entirely dependent on him freezing time.
Which brings us to the aftermath and the current state of the food industry in Rajahmundry today. Right. According to the source, those traditional Brahmin dining halls, the Brahmana Bhojana Salas, they are completely extinct in the city now.
The market has totally fractured, hollowing out the middle. It basically split into two extreme ends of a spectrum.
Right. On one hand, you have a massive population eating very cheap, often unhygienic food on the side of the road because they simply can't afford formal restaurant prices anymore.
And on the other hand, you have people spending 4 to 5 times more at high-class restaurants, specifically for the premium experience of spending time with family and friends in a beautiful setting.
So the entire mid-range hotel, that fast, clean, affordable, utilitarian family spot that Ananda Vihar absolutely perfected, is completely gone.
The economic space for it simply vanished.
And technology ended up being the final nail in the coffin for the old ways, but surprisingly also the catalyst for the narrator's future.
Yeah, food delivery apps like Swiggy and Zomato have completely rewired how people in the Godavari districts consume food today.
The narrator states this beautifully. He says their family business died due to a lack of promotion and trend adaptation, not a lack of demand.
Right. The food business itself in Rajahmundry is still incredibly lucrative.
The human demand for deeply flavorful, highly clean food never went away.
Yeah.
Only the delivery mechanism changed.
So what does this all mean for the son?
Well, this leads to his surprising future plans. He says he plans to reunite with his brothers to finally get back into the family food business.
Wow.
But they are not going to open a physical hotel. They aren't going to build a dining room. They're going to open a cloud kitchen.
Relying purely on the algorithms of Swiggy and Zomato to route their food to customers.
Think about the profound irony here. The family that proudly rejected the Canadian computer boom in 1982, the father who stubbornly refused to buy a simple desktop computer for his accounting, is now planning a multi-generational family rebirth that is entirely dependent on smartphone apps, digital logistics, and tech algorithms.
It is deeply ironic, but economically, it's brilliant. Yeah, because if you really analyze it, the modern cloud kitchen model is the perfect spiritual successor to the father's original Ananda Pavan model.
Wait, how so? A cloud kitchen has literally no storefront at all.
Exactly. Think about what the father hated. He hated the changing ambiance. He hated the idea of people lingering at tables.
Right.
He hated the modernization of the dining room. He just wanted to cook a pure, incredible food ruchi and suchi and get it into the customer's hands as efficiently as possible.
Oh, wow. I see it now.
Right. A cloud kitchen strips away the dining room entirely. It completely eliminates the ambiance that the father refused to manage.
It focuses 100% of its operational energy on the fast, efficient, hygienic delivery of high-quality food.
The cloud kitchen is the ultimate F1 pit stop. It's just been relocated from the Sayamlataki Center to the internet.
The dining room is gone, but the kitchen remains. It's the same core product, finely matched with the right delivery mechanism for the current era. So let's pull all of these threads together. We've journeyed through 4 generations of a Godavari food empire, and the takeaways are incredibly stark. First, success today does not guarantee survival tomorrow.
Having an absolute monopoly in 1980 meant nothing by 1990 because the ground shifted underneath them.
Second, adapting to consumer behavior. Understanding exactly why people are buying your product, whether it's for utility or for experience, is vastly more important than just having a superior product.
And third, a perfectly executed product in the wrong paradigm will still fail.
And this is where we turn the lens on you listening right now.
Yeah, think about your own industry. Look at the projects you're managing or the business you're building.
Are you focusing so heavily on perfecting the quality of the food that you are completely ignoring that your customers are secretly desperate for air conditioning?
Are you so locked into your traditional, proven way of doing things that you're completely dismissing your own version of those Christian district competitors?
It's a tough, uncomfortable question to ask yourself, but an absolutely necessary one.
Because no one wants to wake up and realize they are the absolute best in the world at providing something people no longer want.
You have to be willing to interrogate your own success.
That's true.
I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. We spent this time dissecting how a massive, multi-generational legacy built on deep cultural traditions and the absolute highest quality standards wasn't enough to survive the relentless shift toward modern consumer convenience.
Yeah.
So if generations of tradition and ultimate quality couldn't save a beloved institution from the whims of shifting consumer convenience, what makes us think our modern brands, which are built purely on convenience and algorithms with almost no deep-rooted loyalty at all, will survive whatever behavioral shift comes next?
That's a fascinating problem to consider.
Thank you so much for joining us on this custom deep dive. We loved exploring the mechanics of this story with you, and we'll catch you on the next one.